They all die, yo.
Hey!
Ah,
Reviews!
back up in here, yo.
It's time to talk Venom spoilers. That's right. So if you watched our first video, you'll see that this is our spoiler / tie-in follow-up.
Yes.
What I'll do first, to save everybody a little bit, I'm going to talk about some of the things we saw that would tie in, maybe to pay off to films later, and things that would kind of set the stage before we go into specific spoilers.
Yeah.
So number one that we noticed right off the bat is that there is a spaceship crash.
Yes.
Very similar to what you saw in the early 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and also in some of the original comic book kind of mythos and tie-in to how Spider-Man kind of came into contact with the symbiote.
Yes.
No Spider-Man here. However, the astronaut that survives, technically they say it's Jameson.
Yeah.
Jonah Jameson's son,
Yeah.
who is mentioned in the original 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and also is referenced in the comic as well.
Yeah.
So, now I know there's probably a few other, I'm not 100% familiar with all the mythos regarding the initial Venom discovery. I just know that one is very popular and seems to be more of a fan favorite.
Yeah, that's the cartoon version, because the comic version, he gets it on Battle Planet.
Yes. So, now... that's the first time that we recognized.
Yes.
Later, shortly thereafter, Eddie Brock is talking to Annie, and then she mentions how she tells him, like, you don't want to mess up like you did before.
The incident in New York.
At the Planet Globe, which is technically a name change from the Daily Bugle. Now, I don't know why they don't just say the name of that one, because technically Sony does have the rights to use that name if they want it.
But I get maybe because they don't want to, might be later on in Spider-Man, and they just don't want to have it like seem it's still in the same universe, or maybe they're trying to keep it separate. There's a bunch of other things like that going on.
And then there are rumors of there being time travel in Avengers 4, so maybe somehow, some way, this is an alternate universe where maybe Venom doesn't get his powers from Spider-Man initially, and maybe this is just symbiote and Eddie Brock only. Not 100% sure. But there are small tie-ins, like we mentioned. So it does show that Eddie Brock did come from New York, made a transition to San Francisco, which isn't too far off from some of the current Venom mythos, like where he kind of gets ran out of New York and he decides to move to San Francisco. There's even a scene in Separation Anxiety where he's reading the newspaper in San Francisco that there are symbiotes loose in New York, which he makes him go all the way back to try to stop them. So, small tie-ins there. And this one as well, there's technically 4 symbiotes in the film.
Yes.
No, 5.
4. I think we're debating
4. It is 4. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So there's the one called Riot, which is on Jameson initially. There's a blue one. They don't give it a name. There's a yellow one. They don't give it a name. The black one, which ends up getting on Eddie, which they just call it Venom. He's named himself, so technically these symbiotes have a name.
They all have names, so they basically were talking that that's Riot, and Riot's coming, so Venom knows that's Riot.
Yep. So I think that's just a way for them to describe the characteristics. Now the odd thing is Riot's character is kind of like a grayish black red.
Yeah.
So don't know if that has any kind of throwbacks or call-ins to maybe. At some point, maybe a piece of that would be left over for Carnage or something like that. In the comic book mythos, though, basically Carnage is a symbiote spin-off. Kind of it replicates, is what Venom says. Oh, yes, we remember replicating. And that's how Carnage comes to be on Cletus Cassidy.
Yes.
Who everyone loves as the Carnage character. There are 2 end credit scenes in this film.
Yes.
One... with Eddie Brock going to San Quentin, goes to see Cletus Cassidy, which I thought was odd. They don't actually say his name.
Yeah, they just have a guy there that you pretty much assume that because he's locked up, he's in maximum prison.
And the security guard says, "Hey, Red."
Yeah.
Right? And he turns around, and lo and behold, first spoiler, it's Woody Harrelson.
Yes.
Now, we all know that he was cast in the film. We weren't quite sure what role because they were kind of keeping that under wraps. But he technically looks like he's going to get signed on, or he is signed on, to play Carnage in potential sequel. Now, it's interesting because apparently he like bloodies up his own finger to write Welcome Eddie.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. There's a little. We both kind of thought it was cheesy.
Yeah.
The statement that he makes, he's like, "I swear I will get out of here, and there will be carnage." Right?
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, we get that. I actually didn't need to see them meet right now. I thought that was kind of weird that they kind of made Eddie and Cletus already meet. And I'm like,
very, very early. Especially considering since, again, the symbiote that Cletus gets is the Carnage replication or replicant from, a spawn, if you will, from the Venom symbiote. So, interesting. They definitely need to hit the writer's block and get this ironed out before they do anything else like that. Yes, that was two different references to other Marvel films. Ha! And then let's also talk about the research center. So the Life Research Center, right? There's lots of throw-ins and tie-ins to his weaknesses.
Yeah.
The simple fact that the symbiote actually tells Eddie what his weaknesses are, that never happens.
Yeah, he's like, fire and sounds over 600...
6,400 or 64,000 hertz or whatever the frequency is. It's 64 something. But he never comes out and says that. Technically, it's supposed to be psionic sounds, right? Or like the bell tolling in a tower.
Just loud like sound vibrations.
Yeah, very, very loud noises, basically. I don't think we ever get frequencies until later on. I think when like Mr. Fantastic is trying to make a weapon or whatever to help him out, or even separate the symbiote from Peter. I don't ever recall the symbiote telling him like, "Hey, these are my weaknesses. Be careful. We don't want to."
Yeah, so then he finds out later on, like even being on it, like that's just something that, like Spider-Man comes across, like he hears noises and it kind of moves, or certain things like that as a weakness. Where like it actually would have been cooler if he's fighting and then something happens and then the symbiote just kind of goes away. And he's like,
now, in all fairness, they do show a brief scene of that when he's on top of the news building, basically, and then the airplane goes overhead and he kind of falls. So there is a throwback to that, or kind of like a way to kind of pay it off. They kind of show early on though that they figured out the frequency when they're doing the general symbiote testing in the lab. So, and then what's the guy's name? Carlton Drake.
Yeah.
His character. He's okay.
He's okay villain. I mean, they try to go with a villain, like almost like not caring, but at the same time, it's like you don't really dislike him as a character. Yeah. As a villain, he's just kind of there.
He's technically just there, right? I mean, I think that's the best way to describe it. He's just there.
Yeah, like him and Eddie don't really have a lot of screen time together, so you can't really consider him like, oh.
They give you a reason to dislike him because he's kind of a general a-hole, like a rich a-hole, right? He's just like, oh, you're not going to paint the story I want? Your life is done and it's ruined. Get out of my face.
Yeah. Like, he was a jerk, but at the same time, they kind of pictured him as a jerk, and he does human testing on, like, homeless. And you're like, okay, I shouldn't like him, he's a jerk, but they don't really have him as, like a stone cold killer, or someone just, like, going around beating people down, 'cause he's not really that natural, strong of a person anyways.
He definitely does have one of those evil genius messiah complexes where he thinks he's saving humanity.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, you're just like, okay, this guy's a little batty because he thinks somehow the science or medical breakthroughs that he's doing, he's helping kind of, but he's one of those people that thinks, oh, you know what? Like, there's going to be loss. Every genius has loss in their progress to save humanity, so that's kind of where he puts himself in that category.
It's like, I'll kill a couple homeless people, but I'll save the world.
Yeah, right? He's like, what's the cost of couple hundred people when I save millions?
Yeah.
Right? So he kind of has that aspect on life. Kind of different to people in Marvel, right? They're like, not one person on my watch. One person compared to millions of lives. No! We'll find a way to save everybody.
Everyone. We don't trade lives around here.
Yeah, he's the exact opposite. He's like, I will trade hundreds of lives if I can save millions of lives. No problem.
Yeah.
But he doesn't even go into like great depth about that. He's just point blank simple. Hey, I wanna save the world. I wanna make sure that we can keep going as a society. And the way I see it, these symbiotes are the future, and these medical testing needs to be done. And if it costs lives, whatever, so be it.
So be it.
So, in that respect, like Ian said, okay villain,
Yeah, it's okay, villain. He's not. You're not gonna go back and go, "Oh, this is one of the great movie villains." You're like, no.
Yeah,
You're
nothing.
gonna probably forget about him once you get done and just be like, "Yeah, that guy was okay." But I mean,
Yeah.
Venom is the star of the entire movie, so he's kind of there, and Riot's sort of there. It's not like you don't really feel like there's in danger to Venom.
He needs someone to square off against, basically.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more menacing for the simple fact that he makes more like sharp stabbing objects than
Which I thought was weird that like most of the symbiotes can create objects,
Yeah.
and Venom can't for some reason.
I guess it's not like his symbiote.
But
specialty.
he's like an outcast already as a symbiote, so that's another thing.
Which is funny because in the film he's like, oh, I'm a loser on my planet.
Yeah.
You know, I want to help you save Earth.
Yeah.
Basically, so it's kind of
I'm a loser like you, so let's be losers together.
We have a lot in common,
and we'll be special here.
Yeah.
Whereas my planet I'd be loser, and your planet you'll be loser, but here together we'll both be special.
Yeah, that's like his initial reasoning. He tries to tell Eddie Brock is like, hey, we should stop him so I can be special here on Earth.
Yeah.
With you. And then Eddie's like, well, what's the real reason? He's like, well, it's you. You changed me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was sappy.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Moving right along. Oh yes, that's right. We wanted to touch on the plot of how the symbiotes can survive with a host, but apparently it has to be a specific host, and there has to be something about your genetic makeup that the host likes, which is completely out the window when it comes to the Riot character. Because the first thing he latches on is J. Jameson, and then he latches onto an EMT in the ambulance. And then he latches onto an old lady in a village.
And was on the old lady for like 6 months with no problems.
6 months, no problem. Whereas these, the ones that are in the lab at the Life Science Factory or whatever, they jump on somebody and like kills them almost like instantly.
Instantly, or a few hours, or maybe a few days if they're lucky, and it shuts them down.
And it starts shutting their body down. They can't survive on it. Where this Riot character keeps this lady alive for over 6 months probably.
Yeah.
And then he just jumps to the next person.
Yeah.
And, no problem surviving. So whatever, I don't know, like Venom says, Riot will be considered what we call a leader. I don't know if that's because he has special qualities that make him like give them the ability to prolong his time on a host or what have you. I don't know, but it's very flawed. Because,
so this one they just threw into the symbiote story, because most of the time the symbiotes can just survive.
No matter who. They can latch on to anybody.
Anybody, or just be out and just still survive without needing to host right away.
Yeah, their concept of the symbiote is if it's not on a host on Earth, like in just regular oxygen, they'll die. They have to be like in a controlled container type of thing, which I didn't understand that. I'm like, so if there's no oxygen in this other containment thing, or what type of air is inside there where they're being held? You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't really go on to explain that specifically, so... kind of flawed plot there.
I'm like, there's no oxygen. All right, so what is it? Is it carbon? What you got, like hydrogen? What do you have in
something,
here?
Yeah, something. And then they don't really go on to the atmosphere where they came from because they say they found it on a comet, which is really odd. They're passing in outer space. They happen to come across a comet that they said they detect millions of micro subspecies, which technically turned out to be these 4 symbiotes.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that. Like, are there more on this comet? Supposedly, I don't really understand.
Well, the story was they're supposed to be going back, and he wants to go grab all those.
Yeah, Riot was gonna go back because there's millions on their home planet.
Yeah.
And this version of the symbiotes, they eat people, so that they want to come to Earth just to eat everybody.
Well, I guess infuse, and then whichever ones they don't basically latch onto, they
for host. Yeah, they want to eat. So, I guess that would make them like, I don't know. That seems like a very basic like. Resource scavenger type of population type of thing.
Well, I guess they'd be food, so they would see them as like, okay, we have host and we have food here, so we're good to go.
Yeah, so I guess that's how they would plan to divvy up the Earth.
Yeah, like the ones we host, the rest of them, we're just gonna basically, catalyze the rest of the human race into, for food, I guess.
So I don't know. I guess that there's probably different ways they could have done that plot. It works for a quick like motive, I guess, on what he wanted to do really fast. Probably better ways to do it. Anything else you want to talk about for spoiler wise, or anything you want to discuss as far as like tie-ins?
For spoiler wise, I mean that we covered mostly. I mean everything that's gone on in terms of just Riot character and the
second to last. The end credit.
End credit scene, the last one, which is Into the Spider-Verse, which I didn't understand the tie-in and why it's the last cutscene. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's just like a scene. It's basically not even like a teaser. It's a scene from the movie.
So, just before they show you this scene, it says, in another universe. So, basically, this is literally just Sony plugging their own film in their own film. Basically saying, hey, everybody, don't forget, we have an animated movie coming out. And it's going to be cooler and have all kinds of stuff that we can't show you in live action.
I'm like, you could have just gave me a Miles Morales movie.
And the trailer, I'll be honest, it's okay. It's okay. I'm
like, I'd rather have a real Miles movie, live action, than an animated. But that's just me, Sonny.
That would be very cool.
That's just me, Sonny.
So, but we'll see what comes of that. Into the Spider-Verse looks promising from the original trailer. In this one, I kind of didn't really like it.
Yeah, the new trailer kind of just...
Like, I'll be honest with you, they probably shouldn't have shown this to me. Yeah. Because it lowered my hype for it. I was hyped at first.
I was hyped. I was like, oh, it's a Miles movie. And now you're throwing a lot of other characters. And now I feel like it's just too much Spider-Man-ness going on right now. And I'm like...
And that's what happens sometimes is they oversaturate the market.
Like, I understand the whole Spider-Verse they're trying to do, but I'm like, that's a big arc.
Huge.
It's a huge arc that you're trying to do, and you're trying to cram it into like an hour and a half, 2-hour movie.
It's probably going to be a 90-minute film is my guess. If it's longer than that, good. If the story is great. I think Ian and I both will agree once again, if the story is done correct, people will go watch your film no matter how long it is.
Yes.
If they're entertained throughout that time of the film's running time. So take note, movie studios. Good stories will keep us in our seats.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we will pay to watch them.
Like, if they make Avengers 4 5 hours, I'm going to be sitting there for 5 hours like...
If it's a good 5 hours.
If it's a good 5 hours, I'm going to be sitting here like, let's go. They gave Thanos a sword. Like, let's go.
Might even get more popcorn.
Yeah.
All right, so this time, once again, I want to thank everyone out there for their support. And the love you guys have been showing the channel. We keep seeing our numbers go up and up and up every month.
You guys.
Really, really appreciate it. Helping the channel grow. Feel free to share it out there.
Share it to everybody.
Let other people know our views are out there.
Share it. Share the love.
Exactly. And until next time, peace.